I don't know why. I just keep going back to the Ricard Jewell TV spots, the ones where it shows like parts of the trailer and then the rest of it is Clint Eastwood standing around going, Ricard Jewell is a hero. I find him both odd and compelling at the same time. It made me want to see the movie more, though, so it worked. Ricard Jewell is a hero. I'm not making fun of Clint Eastwood. I think the guy is an awesome actor and a really solid director. Now, ever since American Sniper, I have not necessarily loved one of his movies. There have been some that hit really hard, and then others like 1517 to Paris. I'm just like, what are you doing, Clint Eastwood? Let's get back to basics here. And not to spoil my review, but I do think he does here. I'm excited to talk about this. If you guys have seen Ricard Jewell, let me know your thoughts down below, and let's get right into it. So, in Ricard Jewell, this is the true story. Ricard Jewell, a hero, and then suspect of the 1996 Olympic Park bombing, starring Sam Rockwell, Kathy Bates, John Hamm, Olivia Wilde, and Paul Walter Hauser. Let's just stop right there. Paul Walter Hauser, period, end of sentence. This guy is the movie. Now, is Kathy Bates great in the film? Yes. I mean, I believe she should at least be considered for Best Supporting Actress at the Oscars. She is that good. There's one scene in particular towards the end when she gets a bit emotional. It is the Oscar for your consideration scene that I imagine them playing when they're introducing her for her potential nomination for an Academy Award. She is so good, as well as Sam Rockwell, who I believe is being completely overlooked. Like, he is subtly good in this film. He doesn't have a ton of emotion to work with, but it's all there if you look at the relationship between he and Ricard Jewell. Oh, man. It is hard not to say Paul Walter Hauser is not Oscar caliber in this movie. He is so good, and it all comes down to the fact that he's just so natural as this guy, who I went back, I looked up clips, I looked up what this guy looked like, sounded like, and I'm like, that's Paul Walter is it not? What the? Besides the fact that he looks just like him and sounds just like him, he was just so naturally good in this film. There are times, and I know Clint Eastwood, he's a one-take director, right? So he's the kind of guy that, you know, maybe if you have a little slip here and there, if you're not super happy with the first take, he's like, nope, let's move on. We're done. I think it may have been Tom Hanks that came out and said that. There have been quite a few that said, yeah, Clint Eastwood, he just, it goes with the flow. But he's a really good director. He's directed some phenomenal films, and you can tell that's the case, right? The one-take thing with some of these performances, because every now and then, Paul Walter Hauser, he'll stutter, or he'll throw something in there that you would think is maybe stumbling upon your words, but then once you look at how this guy actually acted in real life, it's like, well, he wasn't a public speaker. He really did talk like this, so was that an intentional move by Paul Walter Hauser? I want to believe that it is, and if that's the case, oh, man. I mean, his accent, everything about it, living in Georgia, just the essence that he captured in Ricard Jewell, man, one of my favorite performances of the year, and I wouldn't be ashamed if he claimed that 5th spot at the Oscars. I don't think he will, but I'm not against him. Now, the performances are great. The direction is solid. For the most part, there were a few times when I wasn't the biggest fan of the transitions or just how he was going about telling that moment. Maybe he didn't capture one or two moments to their full potential. And the way that, and not even him, right? The way that this script treated certain characters, Olivia Wilde's character, let's talk about this real quick. I know it's a little bit of controversy online, and it's not even that for me. It's just the fact that she felt like a cartoon character at the beginning of the film. It was so overblown, it didn't feel realistic to me, whereas everything else was one tone. This not even the performance, she's good in the movie. It's the character. The character felt very off for me, and it just didn't feel real. The movie also chooses to recount information in a certain way at times that I wasn't the biggest fan of. It's not slow-moving in a bad way. I think the pacing for this film really supplements where we get to by the end of the story, and if you're thinking this is a movie that, maybe doesn't pay off in the third act, we talk about crowd-pleasing films, and sometimes that can be misconstrued as something that is a bad thing. Occasionally, if something is too crowd-pleasing, then yeah, it took the lazy route, but I don't think Ricard Jewell does that. This is a well-made movie. It's not an extravagantly made movie, right? This isn't an Oscar-caliber film, in my opinion, but it's crowd-pleasing in the sense that I think most, if not everyone in the general audience walking out of this film is going to smile and say, you know what, that was a good movie, along with most critics. I think this is one where everyone can be in agreement, whether they loved it or liked it or just thought it was okay. I think everyone's going to at least think positively about Ricard Jewell just because it's one of those movies, man, especially those who recount this information, those who remember these events. Ricard Jewell is a true, heroic, wonderful story about a guy who just respects authority, respects everyone above him, and then he starts to learn throughout the film, and I love the progression of this character. It's time to start fighting for myself. He's the most selfless guy, the way that the movie portrays him. I'm not 100% there on the true story. I looked it up a little bit. I did a little bit of research, but I know what the movie told me. And what the movie told me was that this guy is just a phenomenal dude, and he starts to fight for himself. It's a really interesting battle. You feel sorry for this guy all the way throughout. His scenes with Kathy Bates, he and his mother, some of the best chemistry I've seen all year, some of the best dynamics, and some of the most hardcore emotion, because I'm not going to lie to you guys. There were one or two times where a little bit of that. I'm like, yeah, it's working. At the end of the day, I believe it's not as complex as the marketing says it's going to be. I believe the performances end up outshining the actual movie, and then the emotion is going to get you regardless of how you feel about the rest of the film. Before I give you my score, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you like reviews like this, smash that thumbs up button. It helps out this channel and this video. I'm going 74 right now. I feel like this is a movie that I need to see again, but still a really good score for a really good movie. One that I recommend to pretty much everyone. And I think out of all of the new releases this weekend, Ricard Jewell, Black Christmas, Jumanji, I'm going to say Ricard Jewell is the best one, but Jumanji's a lot of fun as well. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. So many reviews yesterday. Later on today, my top 10 most surprising movies of 2019. Hit that notification bell. Stay tuned. It's coming within the next couple of hours. I'll see you soon.
Ricard Jewell is a hero.